I'm Peyton Cook. I'm a defender at the University of South Florida, and I'm a type 1 juvenile diabetic. I was diagnosed when I was 8 years old. My older sister, Kaylee, also had diabetes. She was diagnosed when she was 5, so my family and I had been dealing with it for a while with my older sister. One day, when I was 8, on the 4th of July, we were at my uncle's house, and we were having virgin pina coladas and making s'mores, and my mom just said jokingly, "Hey Peyton, let's check your blood sugar and we'll see where your levels are running," just to compare to my sister Kaylee's levels, because obviously hers were going to be through the roof if she was having any of these snacks. So we checked, and I was somewhere in the 400s, and of course my mom lost it. And we weren't at home at the time because we were in Michigan, but we decided that when we would go home, we would go see my pediatrician and get tested for it for sure.
They confirmed that she had diabetes and we needed to get her into the hospital. So we took her directly to the hospital. Now, this is typical Peyton, 8 years old. She's a soccer player, very competitive, had a tournament that coming weekend and did not want to be in the hospital more than she had to be. And so since we were very familiar with diabetes, with my older daughter, I almost knew more than the educators knew, the people at the hospital. So we just got in as soon as we could. We regulated her insulin. We just got her on a regimen. I think I gave her her first shot, and from then on she was taking her own shots. And we got out of that hospital on Friday afternoon, and she was playing a 3v3 soccer tournament on Saturday, 8 years old. It wasn't gonna stop her. She was gonna do what she wanted to do.
Since I started playing soccer around the age of 4, being diagnosed at the age of 8 and already having 4 years of soccer under my belt, I think the hardest transition for me was becoming an athlete with juvenile diabetes and playing with the autoimmune disease. A huge part of being an athlete is carb consumption, and a huge part of being a diabetic is minimal carb consumption. So that's a weird thing to level out. So I normally try to find sugars just from natural fruits and stuff like that. If I eat carbs, I'm making sure I'm taking long-lasting and fast-acting insulin just to counteract those problems. And then other than that, it's playing on the field when your blood sugars aren't right, when your levels are high and you're on the field and you're like, what should I do? If they're low and you're on the field and you're like, what should I do? It's the constant adaptation to how you're feeling when you're feeling it and how it's going to affect how you play. But when I came to the college level, that's when I was like, this is going to be a lot more difficult than it ever was during the club level or the high school level. The fitness that we have to put into being a collegiate athlete is intense, and the effects it has on my blood sugar are more severe than they used to be. I have an incredible athletic training staff and coaches who completely understand, so that has made this more manageable and more of an attainable goal for me.
Peyton is an amazing kid. You know, she came in as a freshman and she just had that life about her, that passion for being here, for wanting to succeed, for wanting to be the best that she could be, despite anything thrown at her.
Michelle, in order to be a successful athletic trainer in terms of managing a diabetic, she had to learn how to read my body and to recognize the signs of low blood sugar, of high blood sugar. So just tuning in to my emotions and my tendencies. Michelle came to know me very well, sometimes better than I knew myself. She'd be like, Peyton, let's go check. And I would go check and realize I was high or low. She also has to be more of like a barrier or a guardian for me. Sometimes I'd want to push myself more than I should have. And she'd reel me back in and be like, Peyton, let's be realistic.
I could watch her on the field and kind of pick up on, okay, she's going a little bit low, or, you know, oh, okay, she's going high. You know, depending on how she was carrying her body. You know, if she looked like she was starting to cramp or she was starting to slow down, those were my indicators to kind of watch for with her. So I think, yeah, probably as well as she knew her body, I was right there with her.
I think my motivation, despite it all, is to be as normal as possible. There's nothing I can do to change the fact that I'm diabetic at this point. It's you live with it, you cope with it, you deal with it, or you die. I think soccer makes me feel a little less diabetic, if that makes sense. It makes me feel like I'm just like my teammate who's next to me in the locker room, that I'm just like my center back on the field. It makes me feel a lot less diabetic and a lot more like a normal, non-diabetic peer of mine.
I think just important, you know, for people to know that it's not a debilitating condition. You know, it's not something that she's necessarily having to overcome. She's managing it and learning to play with it. I think she's dealt with it for so long, but she's come to this, higher elite level, and she's had to make a few adjustments, but it's nothing that would ever stop her or ever slow her down. It's just not the kind of person that she is.
There's never been a time that I didn't think that she could not play soccer. It was just going to be different. She just can't get on that field. She's got, pumps, she's got meters, she's got snacks, she's got, so it's not like any other player that doesn't have a disease like this. So you look at it differently and you worry.
She has that don't quit mentality. We see that in all walks of her life, in her academics, in her soccer, in her relationships with people. She's just never going to stop. She's not going to let anything stand in her way no matter what. It's that determination that she just brings to the table. It's impressive.
Initially coming into college, I thought I wanted to become a dermatologist. However, after studying, I have a minor in biomedical engineering. So after getting more into those classes, I think it'd be interesting to figure out alternatives maybe to dealing with diabetes until a cure is on the horizon. Because although there are obviously many facilities for dealing with diabetes, I feel like there's a way to make it more manageable in terms of the mechanics of the pumps and of the injections and of the blood sugar monitoring. So I think I could possibly get into something where I'm doing research for diabetes in the biomedical field, in the engineering field as well. I'd like to think, where could I not go from here? Diabetes is a part of me for sure, but it's not the defining factor of my life. I'm a student athlete at an incredible university. I have incredible teammates, incredible friends, an amazing family, and I'm a diabetic. But I'm not only just a diabetic, I'm all of the above.